Hello, learn the letter sound. Learn the letter sound.
A, B, K, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, A, V, W, X, Y, Z.
Learn the beginning sound. Ant begins with
A,
ball, begins with
B,
cat, begins with
K,
dog, begins with
D,
egg, begins with
E,
flag, begins with
F,
goat, begins with
G, hen,
begins with
H,
ink, begins with
I,
jug, begins with
J,
key, begins with
K,
log, begins with
L,
mop, begins with
M, net,
begins with
N,
on, begins with
O, pen,
begins with
P,
queen, begins with
Q,
rug, begins with
R,
sun, begins with
S,
tap, begins with
T,
up, begins with
A,
van, begins with
V,
web, begins with
W, X-ray,
begins with
X,
yawn, begins with
Y,
zip, begins with
Z.
learn the ending sound. Ant ends with
T,
ball, ends with
L,
cat, ends with
T,
dog, ends with
G,
egg, ends with
G,
flag, ends with
G,
goat, ends with
T, hen,
ends with
N,
ink, ends with
K,
jug, ends with
G,
key, ends with
Y,
log, ends with
G,
mop, ends with
P, net,
ends with
T,
on, ends with
N, pen,
ends with
N,
queen, ends with
N,
rug, ends with
G,
sun, ends with
N,
tap, ends with
P,
up, ends with
P,
van, ends with
N,
web, ends with
B, X-ray,
ends with
Y,
yawn, ends with
N,
zip, ends with
P.
Learn the word. Ant, ball, cat, dog, egg, flag, goat,
hen,
ink, jug, key, log, mop,
net,
on,
pen,
queen, rug, sun, tap, up, van, web,
X-ray,
yawn, zip. Press a button. Bye-bye.